A very good evening and welcome along to the latest edition of the Road to Cheltenham. Unfortunately, the road has a bit of a pothole. That is me this week, but Lydia will be back very shortly indeed to smooth over that pothole with Ruby Walsh on the phone in due course. And I'm delighted to say in the studio, Steve Mellish, how's things?
Yeah, good, thanks. Know yourself?
Yeah, good form. Less than 50 days. You'll be getting more excited than most.
Yeah, less than 50 days. Yeah, a few things happened before then, but you're right, 7 weeks and counting.
Yeah. Lots to get through in this week's edition as well. You talk about Cheltenham, you talk about Willie Mullins, and a couple of horses. A brace of his inmates caught your eyes at Thurles last weekend.
Yeah. Particularly, I liked the novice Monkfish, who I thought was is a horse who's really getting it. If we're having this programme in a year's time, I guarantee we'll be talking about either the RSA or the National Hunt Chase for the horse.
Yes.
He just looks a big chasing type, but he's definitely improving as a hurdler.
And sometimes you have all these horses doubly, triply entered. He does hold an entry in the Ballymore, but it looks 100% that he is Albert Bartlett bound.
Well, I'd be really surprised.
Yeah.
He's all stamina, isn't he?
Yeah.
And that really looks to me, well, we're going to show the race. Now,
first, colours.
He's left clear, but he definitely had the race one. He's moving up to and going much the better. I really think from here onwards, he's very impressive. Gets a great jump at the last. The form isn't bad. The second had been placed in a grade 3. The third would bring less than 2 lengths by a horse called Fury Road, who's presently third favourite, I think, for the Albert Bartlett. So I don't think he's beaten nothing. And I just think he's doing it in the style of a horse who's sort of getting his act together, basically. He just looks to be a dour style.
Relentless gallop.
Definitely looks like, yeah.
All the way up the line. You see him pricking his ears at the post, and it's just, as I said to you, it's the Albert Bartlett. That is his race.
Yeah.
Because very often you can see these horses doubly, triply entered. That's where he's going to be.
Well, by Willie Mullins just enters his horses, but I don't think this is one they'll have a discussion about. It's really hard to see that horse will be quick enough over 2 mile 5. What he'd be like on drying ground, I don't know. But the Albert Bartlett is normally a pretty stiff test of stamina, and I think that'll suit him well.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, the other horse on the Thurles card was Real Steel, who was also successful under Paul Townend. This horse is maybe not as clear cut, is he?
Well, I think his form, if Cheltenham suddenly decided to go the other way round, I think he'd be a really interesting runner. But I do think he has a marked preference for going right-handed. I'm not sure Footpath second here is the most reliable horse these days. He doesn't find an awful lot off the bridle. But this, at the figures, this is a really good effort. And his form right-handed is really top class. But I was looking at his form left-handed, and the last 5 races have been 5th, 11th, fell, and 5th. So it fell 5th, 11th, fell and 6th. So there is a things to prove about going that way round. I know we can overplay this, I think, sometimes in jump racing, but I think in his case, I think he has got things to prove going left-handed.
Yeah, and the way he's been campaigned would back that up.
Exactly. The vast majority of his recent runs suggest they've come to that conclusion. Now, things may change, but that would be a big worry for me.
Okay, there are thoughts. Someone who might know a little bit more is Ruby Walsh. He joins us on the line. A very good evening, Ruby. How's things?
Great, Niall, yourself?
Yeah, not so bad, thank you. Steve was taken by both horses, obviously, Thurles last Sunday. If we start with Monkfish, what have you made of him?
He's been very good. We were a bit disappointed the first day when he got beaten in a maiden hurdle on the inside track in Ferryhouse, where he had the £8 allowance for not winning a bumper, but we think it was just fitness. And then when he stepped up in trip as a fitter horse, he was much better in his maiden on the second start, and he was obviously very good in Thurles on Sunday. Now, he's probably flattered by the horse falling at the second last, but he still looked well in control of the race. He's had 2 runs over extended distances. It was a 2.7 maiden hurdle, a 2.6 novice hurdle. We're pretty sure he'll stay, and he'll be heading for the Albert Bartlett. Now, he'll have to up his game again in an Albert Bartlett to be competitive, but he's going in the right direction.
Yeah, I was going to say to you, he holds an entry in the Ballymore, but the way he goes through the race, it looks categorically like the Albert Bartlett is his race.
Oh, he does. He's big, staying type. I would imagine things will happen too quick for him in a Ballymore, and the Albert Bartlett would look more his cup of tea to watch him anyway.
I was just looking. He's had 4 runs so far, and they all under rules. They've all been on a right-hand track. Is that something about him, or just a coincidence?
just a coincidence. He ran in a maiden bumper in Punchestown where he was second to Longhouse Poet. Then, because he got beaten in a bumper, he had an allowance in maiden hurdles once you don't go to a Grade 1 track. So we're making use of that. The inside track in Ferryhouse is probably the best of those tracks, or the most stamina-laden one of those tracks. So that's where he went. And then the novice hurling Thurles the other day, it excluded flat horses. It was for National Hunt horses only. So it's just the way the races have come up for him. It hasn't been by design.
You would have no worries on that score?
No, I wouldn't. Definitely not.
No.
I wonder, he holds an entry in the Grade 1 Dublin Racing Festival. I wonder, might we see him there, or will he go straight to Cheltenham?
It'd be unlike Willie to pull a horse out 2 weeks after having a run over 2 miles and 6 furlongs, or, it'd be unlike Willie to pull one out that quick again.
Right, okay. Move on to Real Steel, if we can. How taken were you with him?
I was, but to pick up on Steve's point there about Monkfish going right-handed has definitely been applied with Real Steel. His form figures when he's raced right-handed have been much better than his form figures racing left-handed. 4 of his last 4 runs have been right-handed. 3 of them have been victories. He won off a pretty high mark when he won a handicap in Punchestown at the back end of the season. He obviously then won in Down Royal, and his reappearance was 4th in a slowly run John Durkin, and was very good last Sunday in a strongly run Kinloch Bray. But his form figures do suggest he's slightly better going right-handed. Now, it was interesting when Paul Townend got off him. It was Paul who picked up on that last year after he'd been to Cheltenham. He thought Real Steel was a better horse going right-handed, but he did comment on Sunday that he was straight as a die and didn't lean to his right and had been easier to ride than he had been on his previous couple of runs. So maybe whatever was at him or whatever was going on, he might be over that.
Because he's had 2 runs at Cheltenham, Ruby, and been below his best, hasn't he? Ran last year, and I think it was a well-beaten, was it 11th or something? He was 6th his other visit. So for whatever reason, he has to up his Cheltenham game. I mean, his performance on Sunday on the figures is a pretty decent effort.
It is a decent effort, but he ran in last year's JLT, which is looking like a really strong race. Obviously lost in translation and Defi de Sol. It looks rock solid, the race he ran in, but as you said, Steve, he does have to up his performance on going left-handed in general. Now, he was probably going to be second to Sharjah when they both fell at the last, left-handed in Leopardstown and the novice hurdle. They were definitely going to be first and second. That would be his best run going left-handed. And knowing Willie, he'll be hoping he can reproduce that.
Okay, Ruby, before we let you go, quickly, Haydock last weekend with a champion hurdle trial. It's a really, really, really open year for the champion hurdle. Pentland Hills obviously won the juvenile, the Triumph hurdle last year. What do you make of his effort last week?
I was disappointed with him. I thought he travelled extremely well. He jumped really well, jumped the last, past the furlong pole. Nico went about winning the race on him, and he went to put the race to bed, but ultimately faded. I was disappointed with the horse. I thought Nico did everything right on him, but he just didn't stick his hand up as a champion hurdle horse for my money. And I think when you look at last year's 4-year-old form, you tie Pentland Hills in with Cours Sublime. Cours Sublime is a good bit behind Sharjah and Leopardstown at Christmas. And I think when you show or look through Ballyandy with Epitante and even Ballyandy's run in the international hurdle, he's a good, solid Grade 2 horse, but is he a Grade 1 champion hurdle winner? I don't think so. And Pentland Hills seems to be somewhere around that level.
Yeah, and that is the level we're sort of dealing with. There is room for somebody to step forward. Where maybe Honeysuckle, she might do it with her Mares Alliance. We'll know more next week. Ruby, thank you very much as ever.
Cheers, Niall. Cheers, Steve. Thanks.
Okay, Haydock, last Saturday. I want to bring you into this about the champion hurdle trial. He was too keen early, Pentland Hills.
He was.
But I thought Nico de Bonneville sat, go into the last, jumped the last nicely, go win your race. Disappointed he didn't win the race. Cornerstone lad, what he amassed winning the fight in fifth the time before is hard to gauge because they didn't take him serious up front. Bouvier, who finished second, obviously picked up a season-ending injury, so it's hard to gauge what he'd done. But with Cornerstone lad with a penalty, I'd like Pentland Hills to have beat him en route to a champion hurdle.
Well, me too. And Ballyandy, Epitante dealt with Ballyandy much more smoothly than Pentland Hills even looked like doing, and in the end he didn't do. Yeah, the bits of the Pentland Hills I preferred this run to Cheltenham before. A lot of people were very complimentary, but that was such a farce of a race where they went no pace to 2 out and a bit of a sprint, and he obviously was going well at the last and then dropped away. But I didn't think he had many excuses on this Saturday. He travelled like the best horse, but he didn't win.
We had the Rossington men as well, and they were very, very similar. You've done the times.
I have. I know the overall times were almost identical. In fact, the Racing Post made them identical. But for what they're virtually the same. So I thought, maybe there could be some anomaly the way the races were run, but again, it's pretty similar pace. The juveniles are slightly quicker to the 6th hurdle, but not much.
Right, the novices on your left, the Banner King Rebel. I thought both races, the best horse in the race didn't win. The horse that shaped the best didn't win.
Yeah, I think that's a fair comment. I think probably the 2nd and the 3rd shaped best in the Rossington Main for different ways. First of all, the 3rd's giving weight away and travelled well in front and didn't jump the last great. Well, it's obviously in the other race, Pentland Hill definitely travelled like the best horse in the race. But in the end, it is about winning, and I didn't think any of them had real excuses for losing.
No, Edward Stone is last held up under Tom Cannon, which he got quite edgy in the parade. He got quite warm on a pretty chilly day at Haydock.
Yeah.
So I can see why he was dropped right in. The Banner King Rebels rolling along in front. Where Pentland Hill's here, he's just always Nico's hands just off his withers. He's just always doing a little bit too much. Now you're going to say, well, he'll be an easier ride in a better race.
Yeah.
I can see that.
It's the argument about what I think that's been really factored into his price. At the time we're talking, he's about a 7-1 chance for the Champion Hurdle, and that builds all those things you're saying.
Yeah.
It says, he's going to settle better, he's going to be a bit fitter, and he's going to be produced, 50 yards from the line. I think he's a horse who catches the eye because of the way he travels. I'm just not sure the substance of his form is there to be a single figure price, personally.
Totally agree. But when we come to look at the Champion Hurdle market, you're going to sort of comments about them all, and most of them comments will be negative.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think unfortunately, we lost Sir Eric last year in the Triumph. Him aside, the 4-year-olds are below par bunch.
On everything we've seen so far this season, that's the case. I mean, there isn't an outstanding horse. There's not on form anything which has put up a Champion Hurdle standard performance. So you're looking for an improver, but I didn't think the 4-year-olds last year, as you say, as a bunch, there's nothing to suggest they were anything more than a fairly ordinary lot.
Isterbrack hasn't started box walking, worrying about someone saying his mantle in 2020.
No, there's a few previous Champion Hurdlers who you'd have some way ahead, wouldn't you?
Yeah. Okay, we're leaving the back straight now. The Banner King Rebel, I think he was given weight away. He finishes 3rd, he gets hampered up the running. A lot of people think Edward Stone finishing 2nd shaped the best. I probably just with the Banner King Rebel myself.
Fair enough,
I think his bumper form was a lot better than Edward Stone's.
Yeah.
Both of them can improve and improve. I think he's a more straightforward horse. I think going down to the last, if you stop at going to the last, you think he is going to win. He makes a hash of it, loses a lot of momentum and fails to get back into it and gets hampered.
He was giving weight away, but having said that, I don't think any of the horses we're seeing in the Rossington Main are going to be winning in a Cheltenham Novice Hurdle. I think they're sort of low 140s type horses, which is good enough to be sort of 5th or 6th in a race like that. That's my view on it. And in the other horse, the Ballyandy, again, you're talking about horses who've got a stone to find on a normal Champion Hurdle.
Sam Twiston-Davies has enjoyed a fine season. Obviously winning the King George being the standout, but whatever happens between now and the middle of April, he'll look back on this day fondly. Look at both of them, absolutely top draw rides.
They were absolutely top draw, and both of them looked completely beaten, didn't they? Even jumping the last, they were going to be 2nd or 3rd at best. They were very similar to watch, the races. They really were. They were identikits of each other, and they were tenacious winners. And you can't knob them.
He's just picked it up half a furlong to go in Pentland Hills. Race is over, surely.
Yeah, how much later can you leave it?
Yeah.
It's not like a flat race where you can come 50 yards from the line. He got there perfectly, and in the end, he's
stopping because the far side Cornerstone lad with his penalty, he's closing as well as Ballyandy's closing.
100%. Unless you find he's only 90% fit, and they feel they've got something to work on, I'm sure he'll improve a bit. All the things about a strong pace, I'm sure, will help him. But as I say, he's a single figure price, and I don't think his form is justified a single figure price.
So, with less than 50 days to go, the Champion Hurdle market is as clear as mud.
Yeah, it's been said 1,000 times, both in this and on loads of other shows, about what an open Champion Hurdle is, and we've tried to, put some meat on the bone or some flesh on the bone to show that that's true. Why it's such an open race. We're going to show sort of some ratings and some figures from previous Champion Hurdle winners.
Okay, more about that in due course. I want to talk about one from this year's juvenile division, Goshen for Gary Moor's yard. He has looked fantastic. He's looked really good, hasn't he?
I think there's something freaky about him myself. He does things wrong. He definitely does things wrong. He can go left, and particularly at the end of his races, he's been hanging markedly right. But he's been killing horses, and he was doing that on the flat at the end. I know you're into your flat racing now. The end of the last season, nothing was getting near him in the staying handicap race. So I think he's got a tremendous amount of ability.
He could be a proper horse even back in that. There's Chester Cups, Ebor's further down the line. They're worth £1 million.
Well, that's the point. I mean, he might always want a bit of cut in the ground.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, he's untapped. He's still untapped. Nothing is showing. He's getting close enough for us to really get a handle on just how good he is. But I think I met Gary at Sandown. I think it's probably the best hurdler he's ever had.
Wow. Yeah. Talking about Sandown, we can have a look at him in action. On the flat, he's down towards the inside on the rail.
Well, a lot's been said about Goshen hanging to the right, which is true in the vast majority of his races. I just think he's got a bit of everything. You see here, he's on the inside, going around the bend, and he has a look left here. He definitely has to think about it before going on, and he ends up winning this by a country mile like he does most of his races. But so that wasn't a right-handed bias, that was just him thinking about it. In plenty of his other races, particularly at the end of some of his hurdle races, he has shown a tendency to jump right, to hang right, but he can go either way.
Yeah, and even earlier in days, yes, he was so well handicapped at flat, but Brighton, the trickiest track in the country, he went up and down Dale, and he was straight as a gunshot.
He was on the inside at the bend at Brighton. He didn't move off it at all. So it's not that he does it all the time, but he is capable of having a look around.
Yeah. We can see him in action at Nottingham.
Yeah.
Once again. What do you want to point here?
Well, it's just again, you can see here that I think it was Hector Crouch was just of a mind to keep his mind on it to go around, but he just wanted to hang off a bit there. That's where the first sort of time I noticed him going to the right. See there, he's taking quite a firm grip on it. In the end, he straightens out. He runs absolutely fine. I mean, they actually come over this side. This is intentional from now. He doesn't hang after that, but he's he does have a look. I say. If you see, we can't show them. You see the Fontwell races and the Ascot races. There are definitely severe hanging to his right at the end of those races, at the hurdles. I think that's partly because he's just dodging around.
And he's a bit of his own man. We can see him over hurdles. But the Triumph hurdles, obviously, on the new track, there's less emphasis on jumping, 6 furlongs, 2 flights of hurdles, and every year in the Triumph, the race develops underneath the stand-side rail.
I'm sure that's what it is. And also, you see here, when he's among horses and concentrating, if you like, he jumps straight. It's not that he can't jump straight. Yeah. Where he's done it, you see, there's no mark thing there. There isn't. And it's at the end of the race where he's gone a mile clear. And I think half of it is Jamie
thinking, I've got the race in the bag, it's very bad growing up a hill, let's get A to B.
Exactly. And the horse then does want to go. But there's nothing wrong with that jumping. No, is there? I mean, you've ridden plenty of horses.
It doesn't bother me, especially on the new track on the Triumph Hurdle, one iota.
No, I feel that. I feel, one day I could imagine the horse doing something wrong. I do think he's a thinker, but at the moment he's doing absolutely nothing right, and he has got a tremendous amount of ability. And I personally think he's been slightly overplayed the way. Here you'll see what he does, and I can see why people are worried by that. But if he's 15 clear at the last of the Triumph Hurdle, I don't mind Jamie taking a pull.
Will he be under the stand-side rail as well?
Exactly. It's just how he is. Ascot was exactly the same at the weekend. Fontwell was even worse. But in all 3 cases, he was a really long way clear. In fact, there's one more thing about Fontwell. I know we can't see it. Going around the first bend, he has a real look to his right. Real look. The last bend, which is sort of an all-weather section. Left hand, straight as a die. So he's just
his own man. He's
his own man, exactly. And hopefully Jamie knows him pretty well and knows what to expect. But I think he's got a heck of a lot of ability.
And with the Fred Winter nowadays, he's completely the best horse we've seen on this side of the RC, and I think both sides of the RC so far. Yes, you've got the Adonis at Kempton. Very often that can throw up over the years can throw up a good juvenile, but he's the one they've all got to get.
I think he is, and I think the race is sure to be strongly running. Got All Mankind here, who is another absolute front-running, machine. So I think he'll get a really strong pace, and even the main Irish Challenger is also a prominent racer, and I think it'll be a test of stamina, which I do think he's got plenty of. So I think he's got a really strong chance in the Triumph Hurdle. The only thing that proviso I would make was you wouldn't want it to dry out too much. I do think he likes soft ground.
Okay. Also at Ascot last week, the Clarence House, plenty of discussion after there. How good was Defi de Soy? Maracuja, the handicapper, slamming him.
Yeah, there's been a lot in the paper about Maracuja. I just thought we'd have a look at this through the prism of the winner, really. My only take on the race is that they have to improve Defi Tesoro up to a mark of 170, which is what they've done. It was 166. You'll see going into the race is a very, very, very positive slant on what the race was, because it wasn't a strongly run race. A horse in third, Maracuja, has had umpteen races.
And he's 11 years
He's
young.
11 years old, and the highest best he's ever been in the days of Paul Nicholls was 147. And in fact, although they put his mark up to 154, they've got him running on the day to higher than that. But although they've kept his weight, I think the high 150s is their actual race mark. I think that's positive. And I don't think it was, in some ways, for me, I don't think it was necessary to increase Defi Tesoro's rating. I know the Racing Post haven't. They have him running better at Sandown, or achieving more, not running better. And I understand that Timeform haven't increased his, but I just think it's a very, very positive view, and it gets him up to the echelon of being a really high class 2-milers. I'm not saying he won't be. He's a lovely horse and does everything right, but I'm not sure he's achieved quite the mark he's got personally.
I was surprised that they moved him for Ascot.
Yeah, you were as well.
Yeah.
And what did you make of it? I just thought it fell apart a bit. The race.
Yeah, I thought it was the way it was run. It was just. I think he's a really likeable, obviously top class horse.
Absolutely.
But I thought Ascot we learned nothing more.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I didn't think
And I'm not surprised
runs.
Timeform.
Yeah.
They took the stance. I thought they were correct.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah,
me too.
Okay, back if we can look at the Champion Hurdle once again. I think this is worth looking at this year's renewal. I personally think Honeysuckle's the one, if non-runner no bet. If she wins the Irish Champion Hurdle, getting £7 off this mob.
Well, I can't argue on figures. You're definitely right that she's actually achieved more on official figures than most of the other horses towards the head of the market. And but anything, including her, anything here has got to improve on what they've previously done to win any of the last 10 Champion Hurdles.
Okay.
You see that's the rating that was achieved when they won the Champion Hurdle. So you see the lowest there actually is Belvedere after, it was 167. Addie Power's 162, but she was getting £7.
Yeah.
Nothing towards the head of the market. You've got Epatant's a high 150s, Pentland's Hills 150s, a few hundred, you see there. So nothing as a yet run to a level. So I think when people talk about it being an open race, I think they're right, because something's going to have to show significant improvement on the day. I'm sure they will, but it's sorting out which one. And I can see where you're coming from Honeysuckle. She is at least going the right way.
Yeah, and it might be a flaky dove year.
Yeah. I thought that. I was interested in a real outsider called Not So Sleepy, who I think has got a load of ability. I mean, no way has it achieved enough at the moment to win a Champion Hurdle, but it wouldn't surprise me if you got a Flaky Dove, a Beach Road, one of those type of years.
Yeah.
I think it's right for someone to be just on the day, the way the race pans out, to suddenly put up a career best.
Okay, plenty of interaction on social media. Steve has picked out his favourite from Facebook and Twitter. Let's have a look at a couple of them now, if we can. Chris Barton. Honeysuckle, 11-1 Champion Hurdle. They'll leave her there. It's wide open this year. I agree with Chris, but forget me. Derek, the melon-headed cat, also agrees as well. With that allowance.
That's a great name. That's a great name. That's all I can say.
He's a judge.
He is.
The melon-headed cat.
Yeah. No, they've got a point. I can absolutely see that.
Okay. Rob Newton, he agrees. It could be argued that she'll only be going to the Champion Hurdle if she's impressive in the Irish Champion Hurdle. The current non-runner no bet price of 9-2 won't be lasting long.
She's a potential shortener. I was telling you, I was at Tottenham last night and I bumped into two Irish guys who were over for that, and all they wanted to talk about was Cheltenham, and they were both all over the same horse. I think it has the potential to be a real shortener.
Okay, Cotswold Chase this Saturday, all live on Racing TV. It's from Daniel, watching the Cotswold Chase memories on Racing TV. Can't understand why anyone would run a horse they think could be a Gold Cup contender, or horses always look exhausted afterwards. I cannot see the sense in running a Gold Cup on heavy ground 7 weeks before the actual Gold Cup. This week the ground's not going to be as attritional as it has been the last few years.
Yeah, it's 7 weeks as well. I must say, I don't entirely go along with that. I know there haven't been. It's not a race which would produce a ton of Gold Cup winners.
The last two have been Master Oats and Looks Like Trouble. You've got to go back a fair way. That said, Cauto Star, Devon, Long,
exactly.
they never ran in it.
No, and most
the
of
Irish don't take it.
Exactly. So I think that Whether I don't think I think trends are interesting, but there needs to be a logic to them, and I can't see the logic or what would be wrong in getting experience of Cheltenham 7 weeks beforehand. And certainly in the case of one or two, Santini, for example, who was favourite for the race Saturday, it's only had one run this year.
Yeah.
You can't believe that one more run is going to bottom him before Cheltenham, surely.
Let's have a look at the entries for this Saturday. Bristol Demai, we know plenty about him. Delta Work, Mr. Whittaker, Alpha Des Beau. Speaking to Phil Kirby, Topville Ben may well wait to the Denman at Newbury. Slate House looks like he's going to jump out of novice company to take his chance.
Yeah, fair enough. I think it's a big day for Santini, personally.
Yes.
I think start of the year he'd be the horse I've been most interested in the Gold Cup, but Sandown was no more, not overexciting. I thought he was good this time. I thought he jumped pretty well. It wasn't the strongest running race in the world, but he's a real stay. I thought he jumped great. I liked his attitude when he got headed on the running. I thought he battled really hard. I think he just looks to me to be a proper 3-mile chaser.
Yes.
Who will always be best on courses like Cheltenham rather than sharp tracks. Like he'd never be a King George horse, for example. So. I think if he can come back to this sort of form and develop a bit, I think he'd have a real chance. But
clearly, this season hasn't went his way.
No.
But and that intermediate, at no point of that race did that look like the same Santini.
That's the point. It was laboured, workman, whatever way you want to call it. In the end, he won, but he was entitled to win. He was much better than them. Clearly, he has to be much better than that. But reports are that Nicky Henderson is very happy with him subsequently. And I think today's Saturday is a big day for him.
Massive day for him.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he's still got the potential all along. He's been he's just looked like a Gold Cup horse, hasn't he?
Always.
Apart from Sandown.
Always. And at least he then won, But I agree. You certainly wouldn't write him off on that. Everything about him beforehand looked like the ideal type, and I say Saturday will go some way towards. He hasn't necessarily got to win, but he's got to run very well.
And as I said, we can have a look at that Sandown run. As I mentioned, it's not like he went to 2 out and thought he got tired, whatever. We haven't seen him since, but there was no point to this race he travelled with any zest whatsoever.
No, he was just sort of lethargic
all
the way round. He jumped okay, not as well as he can do, but he was just really hard work in beating a horse who's much his inferior. Now, there's clearly been a problem because we've not seen
November.
him since. Yeah, absolutely. But as I say, all the reports that you read are positive. There's no excuse. He's going to have ground he'll love. We know he acts at Cheltenham. If he is a Gold Cup horse, he's going to have to be somewhere near to showing it at the weekend.
Yeah, and that's why, hopefully, I personally am a fan of the horse. I'd love him to see.
Yeah.
I'd love him to see him win the Gold Cup. He's with the right man, but Saturday, some of these trials can be inconclusive, can be disappointing afterwards. This is going to tell us a lot.
I think so. I think you just want to see him run with more verve than he showed that day, and at the moment I'm optimistic he will.
What about the Gold Cup picture?
He'd be my choice at the moment,
Still.
To be fair, I may change my mind next Monday if he puts in another round like that, but I'm hoping he won't.
Yeah, it's going to be. It's massive for him.
Yeah, I think so. But there's until then, he was the perfect profile, or he was for me. He's the absolute ideal type, an old-fashioned type chaser in appearance, jumps like a staying chaser. He's not sort of flash. And
ground seems to come alike, really.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Probably wouldn't want it fast, but it's not going to be really fast.
No, it's not going to be fast.
So, absolutely. I think, the right type, but as I say, you've just got that doubt in your mind that you just want to come and see him do it this year.
Yeah, and it would be good for the race.
Absolutely. You get him and a Lost in Translation. So like we were talking about the 4-year-old hurdlers, maybe nothing exciting. I thought at the end of last year the novice chasers were quite exciting, and Delta Work, and there's 3 or 4 who could be Gold Cup horses, but we'll see.
I'm really looking forward to seeing Lost in Translation again. The blip in the King George, but
he's best
loved
than that,
him. Absolutely,
yeah, absolutely. I agree.
The Betfair chase and what he done last year, I loved him.
And they're going straight there, aren't they?
Yes.
Which is, I think, the right thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'll soon be on us.
I know. It'll soon be over. We'll talk about next year.
Yeah. Good. You're done. I'm done. Lindy will be back next week with Ruby. Thank you for watching. We'll see you soon. Enjoy the rest of your evening.